Thanks everybody for joining us today on Live Music Nation podcast. I'm your host, Jake. We are with Kevin Hoard from the Hangout in Gulf Shores, Alabama. Kevin, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
So I became familiar with your facility. We played the Shrimp Festival down there in Gulf Shores a couple of years ago, and just came across your spot. We vacationed there a couple times. It is like a premier live entertainment destination. Give us a little background, Kevin, on you, where you're from, and what you've been doing to this point.
Sure. So I got my start in the event entertainment space in Chicago, Illinois, doing bar and bat mitzvahs. I started doing that in about 2009. And then in 2012, I ended up moving to the South, Auburn, Alabama.
Oh, nice.
And from there, the South is very, very different than the North in regards to events, right? There's not a lot of bar and bat mitzvahs going on in the South compared to what's going on in the North. So I really had to figure out, okay, what can I do now? So I ended up getting involved in the marathon space, where I would be the MC for marathons, and I did that for about 3 years, traveled to about 30 different states doing that. It was an absolute blast. And then really got tired of that, went into the club scene a little bit, found out it wasn't the thing for me. And then I ended up at weddings.
Nice.
So we have an entertainment, I actually have a wedding company in Auburn, as well as a photo booth company that still exists to this day and runs very well. And that is actually how the Hangout found me. They were looking for entertainers on LinkedIn, and they came across my information and reached out to me. And it was about a year back and forth of communication with them, because right when they reached out to me, Hurricane Sally hit.
Oh.
So there was not a lot for that they could offer to me at that time. But after Hurricane Sally, fast forward to earlier this year, January and February, we finally got things going. They flew me out there to the Hangout. And this, to be honest with you, that was my first experience to the Hangout. I had not even heard of Hangout Music Festival, which is another big thing that we're known for. But I had no idea what the venue was, what it was about. But my first experience there, absolutely fell in love with it. As you said, it's a premier spot. And they've got so many great things going on and so many great things that they're getting ready to do. And so they hired me on originally just as an entertainment MC. I quickly became entertainment manager, and then became entertainment director.
Very cool. Do you enjoy that versus the wedding side of things that you were doing?
So, I mean, it's interesting, because what I do with the Hangout, when I'm on the microphone and I'm rocking out with the audience, and, for those of you that may not be familiar with what the Hangout does and, what we're all about, we provide that family-friendly entertainment. We're a restaurant, we're a venue, but inside the restaurant, we provide family-friendly entertainment where we rock out with the audience. We're known for guests getting on their tables and dancing, and we do a whole bunch of other activities. So interestingly enough, what we do at the Hangout is very, very similar to bar and bat mitzvahs.
Yeah.
So it kind of took me back to my roots, and I would say that the best thing is about what we do at the Hangout is that, especially during the spring and summer, is it's every day.
Right.
The wedding scene is awesome, but I mean, you really have it, maybe, a Friday or a Saturday, or maybe even, an odd chance on that Sunday as well. But the Hangout is every single day. So I have to say that I like the consistency more with the Hangout.
Yeah. So do you think that energy that you displayed in the past is something that attracted the Hangout when they found you? I mean, because you made the comparison between the bar mitzvahs and your current status and what you do there at the Hangout. I'm sure that they saw video or they saw your productions and they said, hey, this is what we want. Or was it like that before you got there?
So, I mean, yeah, every MC, every entertainer is different. But to your point, I think what I brought to the table and what they were really interested in is that definitely that energy. You know, I have a lot of energy on the microphone, and I make it to where you feel comfortable enough to want to join in with me. And I think that's the most important thing that any entertainer can do, whether it be, you know, a musician, whether it be an MC, whether it be a DJ. And it's like, hey, how can I make this a comfortable space where people actually want to get involved with what I'm doing?
Right.
And I think that that's what I excelled at. Absolutely.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Very cool. Well, tell us about this past year. I mean, obviously, COVID year was 2020 was what it was. Mm-hmm. What's the status of things right now? What was 2021 like for you guys? Are you guys back to normal? Are numbers 100% back to normal? Is Gulf Shores, is the beach back to normal?
Yeah. So, you know, when I first got here back in March, you would have thought that the pandemic didn't exist. And it's funny because I know that it was either, I want to say the mayor of Orange Beach that even made that comment that said, hey, COVID doesn't exist. And we were all like, hold on, wait, I think we need to pull that back a little bit. Maybe that's not the right statement to say, sir. Yeah. But, you know, it's one of those things where the cultural climate was to a point where, us being a tourist town, you know, people wanted to get out and do stuff. Yeah. You know, they were tired of being stuck in the house. They were like, this is crazy. So surprisingly enough, this was one of our busiest years we've actually seen. And, you know, our sweet spot for a season, because we really don't ever have an off season, right? We have a season and then we have a slow season where things kind of die down, right. But it's never really off. What we saw this year was from March until about the end of October, we were slammed. We were all get out busy. Yeah. It really did not die down for us until around middle of November. Like really just a few weeks ago is when it started to like really be really slow for us. Sure. But I mean, the attendance was amazing. Spring and summer, I think we actually hit some record numbers. So it was an absolute blast this spring and summer for the Hangout in Gulf Shores.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. And I think we've kind of heard that from especially what we call, you know, destinations that, you know, people go there to get away and being outdoor. And of course you're on that Gulf Course corridor, you know, and there's so many things that you can do down there. So that's fantastic. Let's talk entertainment real quick. How much feedback do you listen to from your customers, from people that are traveling through? Because I'm sure you have both. You have a clientele that are repeat customers because they're locals, but you also have a very high turnover and you have a lot of people coming through who are only going to be there once or twice a year. How much do you listen to feedback from them?
So I would say that, you know, most of the feedback that we get is not so much customers, mainly to your point, because they're in and out, right? You know, a lot of them are coming, a lot of them, it doesn't matter the band that's playing for a lot of them, right? They're coming out because they want to have a good time. So when it comes to feedback, a lot of the feedback that I get is really from servers and management. You know, servers, I really rely on servers because there's a lot of times where when we start the season, we are doing bands every single day, Monday through Sunday for 4 months straight. Yeah. Right. So there's times where I cannot be there, you know, and so being involved with not only the entertainment side, but also the restaurant side allows me to really have these close conversations with servers where I can say, hey, look, how was the band last night? You know, what did you think? And the crazy thing is that the servers are very vocal to begin with. So, you know, if they don't like a band, I'm going to know about it, you know, so that really helps. And then management as well, you know, they kind of chime in as well. I think there's been a few times that we've had some complaints about, you know, a band or two, maybe like on Google reviews or something like that. But I can tell you that the best way I know a band is great is when I see everybody out there having a good time. Yeah. You know, that's the best feedback for me without, you know, any sort of audio involved, where, you know, it's just action, right? If they're out there having a good time and there's bunches of them at the stage, I mean, you know, that's all I need to know, that, hey, these people are having a good time.
Picture's worth more than 1,000 words and 1,000 lyrics as you go through that. So going back to your employees, it's really the first time I've heard someone say that that has to make your employees feel special from the get-go, to know that their feedback counts. And that's nice. I like that a lot. And I'm sure that your employees appreciate, you know, just knowing that you listen to them and their feedback. And I'm sure that doesn't just apply to the live music. I'm sure that applies to the management and every aspect of that facility as well. That's a very smart concept. I hope people can catch on to that. I'm sure that is a big factor in your success as you go through there. Let's talk about the artists and the bands that you bring in. What are the qualities? I think we already have a pretty good picture of that. What are the qualities that you look for in your entertainment?
Yeah, so, you know, I've got a saying that when I first joined and signed on as entertainment director, and I really took over booking bands, I have a saying that I think goes a long way. And it's, you know, we look for bands that play to their audience and not for their audience, right? Okay. And that, and what I mean by that is that, you know, you can get up there on stage and play an instrument, okay? But can you play an instrument that will make somebody want to dance to it? Can you play that instrument and maybe get off the stage and play right to that person that's right there in front of you, right? That's completely, that's different now, right? Can you make a switch? You know, let's say you have a set list. Can you make a switch because you notice that, hey, maybe there's this group of people that might like this song better? Can you make the switch, you know, very quickly, you know, as opposed to being so stuck into, you know, kind of your set list right there. Right. So playing to your audience and interacting and engaging the audience is really our biggest thing that we look for when we're looking for bands.
That's awesome, man. And what I think you're telling me from what I'm hearing is you really look for the entertainment aspect versus you can be a musician, but to cross that over and to take that to be an entertainer, because it sounds like you, Kevin, I haven't seen any of your stuff yet, but I'm going to go to YouTube and I'm going to check it out. It sounds like you know exactly how to entertain that audience, whether you're doing a wedding or a bar mitzvah or, you know, handling the stage at the Hangout. And that's great to be able to describe it as playing to your audience and not just for them as correct go through there. No, that's awesome. That's very cool. Have you worked at any other venues that are not tourist destinations? Have you done any work? And give me some differences there, because I know the biggest difference is the turnover that you have. You have so many people coming through from so many different parts of the country versus maybe a local establishment. Have you ever been in a local establishment or anything like that?
So as far as like local venues, I mean, that's all that I worked with when I did weddings, right? I mean, that's, you know, that you know, word of mouth in really any business, you know, does so much more than, you know, paid advertising. Right. So, you know, as a wedding DJ, to pair up with a wedding venue and say, hey, look, you know, I can do this for you. And, you know, they've seen my work plenty of times, you know, that goes a long way. Now, as in terms of a live music venue, no, this is actually the first one that I have been a part of. And to your point, absolutely, you know, a local venue, live music, or even a wedding venue is going to be different than, you know, a destination venue, right? So I think that, you know, to your point, you have all these people that are coming in that you just never know what you're going to get, you know, and it's constantly busy. You know, I feel like a local venue has to do a little bit more than what a tourist venue has to do, right? They really got to push that advertisement. I mean, we really don't have to advertise. We're right there on the beach. I mean, we're playing music that's hitting everybody on the beach. I mean, you're going to walk over just because you're like, hey, what's going on over there, right? And then, you know, everything that we do on the microphone gets blasted out on the beach too. So it's like we have these ways of being able to grab an audience and grab people and bring them in without really having to do too much. And I think that is the most powerful thing that you can have when you have a tourist venue.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, let's have a little fun here. As a fan, as a musician, as an entertainment director, what's the best act, the best band, the best show you've ever seen in your entire life?
So I think that there's for me, when I'm going to break this up into two parts for you.
Okay.
So one, I think that you have I'm going to go, global, worldwide, outside of Gulf Shores, Pensacola, Mobile. So if I could talk about three entertainers that I think are just incredible, dead or alive, Michael Jackson, number one.
Okay.
Number two would be Chris Brown, and number three would be Bruno Mars.
Okay. All right.
I think that they are incredible entertainers and they do such a great job. But I also want to talk about locally. I think we have some of the best down here in the South. We have some of the best talent around, and I didn't even realize that you had so much that we had so much great talent down here. But most recently, about a few months ago, I found this band called 6-Piece Suits. And wow, are they just the epitome of what we're looking for when it comes to being able to entertain your crowd. I remember the first time that they played, they had a guy that was playing the keys, and at the Hangout we have a foam machine that goes off at the top of every hour during summer. So he's playing on stage, and the foam machine comes on, and all the kids run to it and they're running around it. He hops off the stage, runs into the foam machine, and keeps playing. and you know what I'm saying? And that is just, I had never seen anything like that before, but that really is the epitome of, hey, play to your audience now. Now you're in there, you're with them, you're having a good time. That's what it's all about. There's also some great guys, out of Dadeville, Alabama, by the name of Blackberry Breeze. They do an absolute stunning set where they take about 20 songs and mash them all up together.
Right.
And it's some of the most entertaining stuff I've ever seen. So, local and then non-local, I think that's where I would stand.
Very cool. Very cool. So if you were in a classroom of 4th and 5th graders right now, and you were looking across the room, and you have taken this journey in your life that you have, what are 3 things that you would say to that young girl or that young boy who has a dream in their head? They come to Gulf Shores, they see what you do as an MC, and they want to be you 15 years down the road. What do you say to that little boy or that little girl?
I'd say number one, don't put all your eggs in a basket. I think everybody learned that when it came to the pandemic, right? Personally, business-wise, that was, I think, the biggest lesson that we all learned. I think one of the greatest things is that I've been exposed to so many different entertainment situations, bar and bat mitzvahs, weddings, marathons, private events, school events, corporate events. I've been around it all. And I was never, it wasn't until I really found weddings, I was like, okay, I'm only going to do weddings. But before that, I just exposed myself to everything. And that allows me to be an even better entertainer because I'm, in a situation like the Hangout, I'm constantly being exposed to so many different people, right? So it allows me to not always have the same set every single time. I think that's super important. Number two, I would say that the biggest thing that has helped me was growing up, I took a lot of fine arts classes. So improvisation is one of the biggest strengths that you can have on the microphone. Being able to work and do something on the fly is huge when it comes to entertainment, right? I mean, some of the greatest moments that we've seen in entertainment, TV, movies, on stage happen naturally and are improv, right? So I think that if you can get yourself into a course that where you can study some improv, you can do some acting, it goes a very long way. Lastly, I would say that public speaking, knowing how to talk and being able to enunciate and make sure that you're talking clearly, and people, you know, when they hear you, it's like, oh my gosh, who is that, right?
Right.
That's huge, and it unfortunately it doesn't happen with every MC. It does take some time, but I would say that start now rather than later, right? So, you know, if you're 8 years old and you see somebody on the microphone, you're like, I want to be like that. Start then. Start right then and there, you know. And I think that that's what's helped me is, you know, even when I started, I was not the MC that I am now, and I'll continue to learn things and get better and better. But I mean, I didn't even have the right voice or anything like that. I was actually told multiple times when I was doing bar and bat mitzvahs, hey, you know what? You're never going to be a good MC ever. And, you know, it's one of those things where I just kept at it. I kept at it. I kept at it. And boom, now here I am.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Kevin. I'm glad we got this. We had this scheduled a long time ago, and then the world got chaotic again. And like I said, some people in this industry just blew up, and the Hangout was one of them. So I'm so glad that we finally got this going, and I'm super excited. I think you gave us a lot of great advice today, and not only for entertainers, but also for those youngins or those people who want to start over career-wise and get a jump on something else. So great. Love what you guys are doing for live music.
Well, baby, I'm on it with a bottle of wine and a no joke.